I'm here at the auditorium at Cosworth with my old friend Bruce Wood, Managing Director. Bruce, this is really where Gordon's history with Cosworth starts, isn't it?
It is, and kind of it's very much also where Cosworth's history starts. So this was the SCA, the base engine out of the Ford Anglia, which I think is where Gordon got his from. And this really is the thing which brought Cosworth to the attention of Ford. Ford at that time were kind of, particularly in the UK, Ford very much wanted to be the kind of younger person's sporty car and were happy to leave the more family car to Vauxhall. And they saw that this little company Cosworth was doing great things in amateur motor racing with the Anglia, and that's really what brought them to Cosworth's door. Oh. And then, as I say, obviously created a huge legacy with Ford thereafter.
So this, I believe, when Gordon was doing T1, he was reading Ford Cosworth manuals, going, okay, how are they getting horsepower out of this thing? He couldn't afford to buy the Cosworth engine, so he copied it.
Well, it's a good job that Keith didn't hear about that, because I think he would have had something to say. But
Keith probably sold him the manual. And that leads on to this, the classic, I mean, the DFV.
Yeah, I mean, the DFV is very much the thing which sort of changed the course of motor racing, I think. And more than that, it really, if you take a cylinder head from a DFV and you put it alongside any road car in the car park, you can see very clearly a sort of parentage from a DFV 4-valve head to a sort of modern road car 4-valve head. So I think not only did it change motor racing, but it actually was the kind of blueprint for all 4-valve engines to come.
And the most successful Formula One engine of all time.
Yes, even now, which is extraordinary.
It really is. 1967, Jim Clark winning that first race.
Winning the first race, and I think and sort of one of those kind of things that often copied, never beaten.
And Gordon's first win was with the BT44 with this engine
in the back. Yeah.
So when Gordon phones, you're sitting in your office upstairs, and the phone rings, and it's Gordon. He says, "Hey Bruce, we want you to build, design, develop, and build the engine for T50." Is that is there excitement? Are you nervous about it because of the expectation? How does that work?
It's a thrilling moment for Cosworth, and I think, and for me personally, and everybody who's involved with it personally. Like we've said, I've been here a very long time, and lots of people here have been a long time, and it's one of those moments that you know it's going to be a pivotal moment in the company's history. We've done lots of things, but it doesn't get much better than that. So, for sure, there's a slight nervousness.
He's quite demanding of.
Yeah, and I guess you know he's building a car company around this sort of thing.
Yes.
So it's and again, it's a, for want of a better description, it's a proper car company. This is a proper car. It's not a one-hit wonder. It's not a track special. This is a proper iconic road car that we're building here. And with the McLaren F1, you've got pretty big shoes to fill, and sort of in terms of an engine. And
yes.
So definitely slightly daunting, but again, mainly thrilling opportunity. And immediately you start to think about, what's it going to be like? What are we going to do?
But he's told me that Cosworth were the only people to go to, the only people that could do this with a normally aspirated engine.
We certainly like to think we'd put ourselves in the position that it would be hard to find a reason not to. And I think, if you put together the kind of Cosworth's history and put it alongside Gordon's history, then they are so intertwined and they're so very similar. So I think one of the things that we've managed to take from the motor racing world into the road car world is that motor racing methodology. I'm always saying it to people, but there is no point turning up Monday morning with the best engine in the world if the race was at 2 on Sunday afternoon.
So true.
So it's going to be a great chapter in Cosworth's history.
Let's move up the timeline here. This engine's kind of part of my childhood. I mean, who of my era doesn't remember the Sierra Cosworth?
Yeah, I mean, extraordinary time, and that, like you say, the Cosworth became it was one of those bedroom wall posters. You had your 911s, your Lamborghini, and surprisingly your Cosworth Sierra.
Yeah, and, absolutely.
I often joke, in fact, this is when my mum knew where I worked. But prior to that, Cosworth had been hugely well known within motor racing circles, but suddenly this brought it a sort of household name in the UK. And for us, that was a real pivotal moment in our history. It was our first road engine, and it kind of cemented that period sort of after Formula One had the influx of car manufacturers into Formula One, which changed the landscape somewhat. We needed a new thing to do, and this was it. And there's another thing that's very special about the T50 that might seem like a long gap, but the T50 is is the next car after this, which has had Cosworth on the cam covers. So for us, that is a real thrill. That's a pivotal engine in our history with Cosworth on the covers, and the T50 is a pivotal engine in our history, and so to have Cosworth on those covers is also
That's
very
cool.
nice.
The XF.
Yes.
This is this
Your
is
nemesis.
This is where Bruce and I became adversaries or competitors, I would say. This was the IndyCar engine through 2000?
So 2000 to 2004, we raced this engine. And I know you came to kart in '97.
97, yes.
Hogan and the Mercedes, and then moved across to Honda Power, and that I think was a fantastic period in motor racing,
wasn't it?
And you know, brilliant battles that were had you guys on the track, and for us as engine manufacturers.
Absolutely.
Fabulous battles with Honda and later Toyota. And
I will tell you one thing about this engine. It produced a lot of horsepower. I spent some time chasing this down the straight and trying to keep up with it.
At its height, we were about 950 horsepower at 16,500 on
With valve
metal
springs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Not for very long, as you know, but we only had to do one race back in those days.
Oh, we had
but,
qualifying engines and everything.
Qualifying engines that only had to do 2 laps.
So moving on here, what are these next ones? Formula One.
So
engines?
this, another great engine in our history. So this was Michael Schumacher's first championship-winning engine.
94?
So, yes, 94. So that again, an amazing piece of history. Obviously, Michael's subsequent enormous success with Ferrari, it perhaps understandably overshadowed a little bit the earlier success, but we like to say we were right there at the beginning of Michael's incredible career.
I remember this well.
That engine,
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Gordon's mentioned to me a lot about Cosworth combustion chambers. He keeps talking about combustion chambers, and sometimes I get what he's saying, but he's adamant that what Cosworth does with combustion chambers is second to none.
So I think so. Combustion chamber, say, it really became critical at that point. You designed your combustion chamber and then clothed it with an engine, and I think the turbulence that you create in a combustion chamber is key, because for high power, you don't want a great deal of turbulence, but for good emissions, you need a great deal of turbulence. Let's say there's some trickery within the combustion system on the T50 engine, because I say you have those two conflicting requirements. At low speeds, where you're within the emissions zone, you need lots of turbulence, and at high speed, when you're trying to get your maximum power per litre, you don't. Some cleverness, let's say, in the T50 engine that tries to square that circle of those two conflicting things.
Bruce, I'm seeing this lovely timeline of Cosworth's history, but I'm noticing space on this wall. We need T50 and T50S here.
Been saving this especially for you, Dario, and yeah, we'd be delighted to have a T50 and a T50S. That would make the room.
Fabulous. Bruce, thank you so much. Great to see what Cosworth are doing in general, and certainly with T50.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming.